This video should be fairly short, and what we're going to do is simply create a new file here and then save it. Control-Alt-S as style.css. We'll go save. We'll make sure style.css, it's the same file name as we used before. And what is really handy in Notepad++ is the ability to split this by moving to another view so we can see both things. I'm going to shrink this one down now, and I'll turn this one up so we can see these two different things here. Alright, so I've got body, and in body we can format this a little bit. Now sometimes, depending how complex you want to go, it's useful to use a universal selector at the top to change the margin to 0, padding to 0, and what that will do is, if I refresh this page now, it just gets rid of all spacing, which means that I can then change the spacing myself. I could also select font size 12 pt, font family. Ooh, we might go Futura, Optima, Verdana. So if we don't have one of those, we're going to end up with a sans serif font. So if I go back to here, you'll see the font will change. Okay, so it's that looks like it's Verdana, and then I've just got my basic thing set up, so I can go and add some stuff here now. So say I want a bit of space on the left hand side of the body. I can go padding dash left 20px, hit enter, go into here, I get some padding on the left there, and I could also add padding to the top, padding dash top 40px, hit enter, and do that there. Now I'll just go to the King's High web page. So how do we get there? King's High School, and what we can do is find the color that this page is. If I inspect element, I should be able to see div, click to enter that. Where's the style sheet? Oh, here we go. So over here, there's the background color. It allows you to do this in Chrome. So I can grab that background color there, Control C, and I can use that as my background color for the body. Background dash color, and I'll go into my sports page. That puts that in there. Now you may not want that color, you may want it to be a little less bold, but you can also add things to this. So what I could do now is do something like this: div class equals entry form, and we'll probably use an ID there since I'm only going to use entry form once. Let's have that in, enter, close the div down here, and then hash entry form. Could add margin. Let's go 0 at the top. Oh, we might add 40px at the top, and then on the right, doesn't really matter, 0. On the bottom, doesn't really matter, 0. On the left, we're going to have an 80px margin. So when I view this, it's just spacing it out a little bit more, and I'm going to put a border in. Border. We'll have a 2px solid black. So I'll go back to here and refresh that. I now get a solid black border. I could add padding into this. Padding, let's have 30px all round. Okay, it's going to give us some more space there. Now this space on the left is way too much, so I might decide I don't actually want padding in the border, in the body. There's no need for it. Bring that back and bring that up there. The padding to the left is too much, so we might change that back to 40. Okay, so there we've got something that looks, it's a start. It's a start. I could set a width for this. width of 600 px, and that will bring that out there. And then border radius 5px. And we could add, there's some other things you could add in. I think shadow is maybe one of them. You could play around with those. Have a look up some other CSS selectors. You could put a background on this. Background dash color. And I'm going to change this. Red, green, blue. I think we want this to be lighter. So let's change this to AA. And then when I go in here, it's a different color blue. If I change it down to 0, 0, it will be completely green. So what I might do is, that was D, change it to D, save it. That's almost the same, but playing around with these settings. Or you could get a color picker. So I could go color picker, type in the color that I want, which is this one, hit enter, and make it lighter. All right, I'll use that color there. So I'll just grab that. Right to here. Okay, so I've got a decent looking form now, and I can start to style the other ones. So what else have we got in there? I've got a form. I probably don't want to style the form individually because I've already put things in there. But let's go, we've got H1. Not sure why that font's going funny there. H1, we'll go font dash size, and that's going to be 22 pt. There's other sizing options you can use. 1.6 EM will make it quite big. And margin dash bottom, we're going to add some spacing to it because I took all the spacing away before. So 8px adds a little bit of space to the bottom. I could go border dash bottom 1px solid black, maybe 2px, and that adds a border along there. So styling your document is not that difficult, it's just taking a little bit of time. H2 is going to be the same. I'm going to essentially copy this. H1, H2. I'll make them both the same for now, and you'll see something. So they both are the same, but now I'm going to make a separate one just for H2, which is going to have font size in it, and it's going to be 1.0 EM, which will make it a little bit smaller, maybe 1.2 is better there. And I could add margin dash top 20px, gives it a bit of space there. Format the paragraphs. Format the paragraphs so they could be font size 0.8 EM. That might be too small, we'll have to see. It brings the paragraphs down to a decent size. I could format just the paragraphs in the P tags and make them font family courier new. If the font has a space in it, you'll need to put a quotation mark around it. Consolas, and they're all very similar looking fonts. So when I hit that and view that, I get these bits here. So different font there. And there's some other stuff I could add. So for P, I could add margin 5px at the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. And that gives it a bit of space in the margins there. So it didn't take long to style that and make it look a little bit more interesting. What you'll want to do is take time to style yours, make it look like a proper King's High web page might look. You could even create a little header image to go along the top here with some sports on it or something like that and fill those out. There's lots you could do with the style to make it look really good. So just take your time to go through those and style those. Have a look at styling input boxes because you can actually change the way they look. Styling buttons. That button is really big. So for example, Let's have a look here. Input. I think this might work. Font dash size 0.7 EM. Let's have a look and see. So that changes that look there. It changes that button, makes it quite small. So you can change these things quite easily just by selecting the tag. In that case, that was input tag, and font size for that. It's quite small. But it does unfortunately change all these. So you may have to have something like class equals submit, and then input dot class. And then it's only, it hasn't actually worked there properly. That's because it's not dot class, it's dot submit. And it still didn't work, so I have to play around with that. It may be that I shouldn't call that submit, or I may have to have that dot there. No, there is a way to do it, and I'll figure that out. That's not the best way to end the video, but we're going to end it there, and I'll let you know in class how you can change those submit buttons. But you can always have a look. There are tutorials on how to make your own buttons, and you can do that quite easily, but there are ways to format these input buttons as well. So what you should have is something that looks like this at the moment, and you might want to change how it looks. In fact, you will need to change how it looks, because if you submit something very similar to this for your internal, then you haven't really worked independently to come up with your own design.